Pump it up, pump it up.
Trae.
Oh, come on, come on.
With Trae.
Pump it up, pump it up.
It's the day with Trae.
This is the day to gain inspiration, to make a positive change in the nation. We're inviting you to partake in conversation, to raise your vibration. It's the day that we will all celebrate all of our peace that make this thing elevate. Watch the negative fade away, cause it's the day with Trae.
Grand Rising, everybody. Welcome to the Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. I get to welcome you to a powerful Black Star Powered Friday. Y'all, I got two cast members from Hamilton in the building with me here in the Black Media Matters studios. I'm so excited that I get to speak with both of them. I got Deon'te Goodman here, who plays Aaron Burr, and I also have Blaine Alden Krauss here, who plays Alexander Hamilton himself. So y'all know it is definitely a lit day. But before I get into it with them, I get to get into it with you, because this is, of course, the top of the show. So this is where you share this amazing show with others who you feel could benefit from our daily dose of dopeness we work to give you here on the Day with Trae. And if you can't watch our TV show, y'all know we got you covered. It is the digital age. We are also available anywhere you find your favorite podcast. Just search Converge Media Network and the Day with Trae, and you will find us there. Now, I got time with these fellas, so I got to get right into it. Welcome.
Hey, how you doing?
Trae.
It's so good.
I gotta say that y'all were fantastic. I got to see you on Wednesday night, and honestly, I was blown away. So I want to get into some history before we start really getting into your roles as Aaron, as Hamilton. I mean, I really want to talk about your beginnings. I always love to hear that story. There's always something that draws you to this world of acting. Tell me a little bit from your perspective, Deon'te. What was that kind of first nudge that you knew, hey, this is really what I'm loving?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having us. You know, like we even stepping into the studio, everything's just been such a vibe, and it's really felt like, you know, community away from community, which is really something that, you know, I look for on tour. So I'm like really happy to be here. And so, yeah, I grew up singing in the church, you know, and you know, that age old story, and, you know, fell in love with music in that way. And I would say my love for musical theater didn't come until I was in middle school. I really attribute my journey, my career, and all of it to my music teachers. They were such, you know, huge pillars, and still are, you know, in my life to this day. I am the youngest of 6, you know, raised by a single mom who, you know, works so hard, and, you know, was like working nonstop while we were growing up. And so it really took a village. And thankfully, my music teachers were a part of my village. They introduced me to my first show, which was The Music Man, and when I was in 6th grade. And I was just like, I just remember being at my locker in school, and my music teacher being like, hey, are you auditioning for a musical? And because, you know, they knew I was known in school as the one who could sing, right? And I was like, what's a musical? I'd never seen anything, you know, we did not, you know, I grew up with a family of sports players. So, you know, I remember she was like, it's The Music Man, you know, just go home, take this music, listen to it. And after the first listen, I was just like, I remember myself being around my house, just walking up and down the stairs, 76, you know, and that's where it started for me, you know. I auditioned for the show. I ended up getting into the show, ended up playing Harold Hill.
Okay.
You peaked.
You know, I peaked,
It's
right?
downhill. It's been downhill from there.
Ever since. And so, yeah, that was where it started for me. And I caught the bug, and I never stopped. You know, all forms of music have just, you know, really played a huge part in who I am today. And so, very grateful.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people have that beginning, that choir. It's so real. What about for you, Blaine? I mean, that first little, ooh.
I have the choir beginning too, same thing. Grew up, you know, in the church and with my family. And I was actually the only kid in the adult choir. And I have this very specific memory of us doing we're blessed in the city. Hey, we're blessed in the... And then, you know, and around. And I would turn around, I would like spin, and everyone would clock me because there was no choreo, but I was doing whole choreo.
Right.
Yeah, similar thing. Growing up, I always, you know, my family, my mom talks like, you know, when I was a kid, they were like, he's gonna be a lawyer or a preacher or something because he talks, he gabs. You know, my mom caught me outside, and when she tells a story of like, I was outside with some like 3 or 4 of the neighborhood kids, but none of us could speak, but I was speaking like gibberish. I was like, da 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 da, and they were like, yeah. And she was like, okay, I've got a cult leader or someone inspirational on my hands. So I've always been a singer first, music, first love. You know, going to performing arts school since elementary school. Grateful to have that kind of education and programming in my community and a family that recognized, you know, that I had that. I wanted to be a pop singer. Still kind of do a little bit. That's the OG dream. For me, it was like, I could either be Brian McKnight or Usher. Right? And I was like, I'm gonna do Brian McKnight because he doesn't sweat as much.
Yeah.
He's keeping it a little bit more chill. That was kind of like my trajectory. And I also was a big kind of school nerd. I loved school. I loved studying. I loved learning. So I was doing, you know, choir and chorus and all that kind of stuff, you know, throughout school. And I did some theater in middle school. And I think we did Once on This Island was the first show. And when I heard Once on This Island and teachers started playing like, you know, Dreamgirls and Jelly's Last Jam, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Like some of these songs sound like songs we could play at the cookout. Like that's always kind of my marker actually for like artistic work that I'm doing. I always kind of bring it back to my family. And I'm like, would they vibe to this? Like if I brought them to this or if I played this at the cookout, you know, so Dreamgirls, that music sounded like music that I wanted to be singing. So it gave me an easy door into musical theater. Because if I'm being honest with you, when I first heard musical theater, to me, it did not sound like us. It sounded very Music Man. And I was like, okay, cute, but not quite, you know, where I'm coming from and what I've heard. And obviously we've seen the market like grow and expand and our music dominate, you know what I mean, musical theater. So I got swept into it. And because I was a school nerd, I knew I wanted to go to college. I knew I didn't want to study choir because I was wanting to be a pop star, right? So I was like, well, I guess the musical theater thing is as close as I can get to being in a contemporary world while also still going to school. So I went to college for musical theater and I just say that I've been sucked in ever since. You know, it's a thrilling industry, a tough industry. So once you're in it, you're just kind of like going, But yeah, that's kind of how I got into it. And I think you're probably similar. I think I've realized I love being a vessel for the human experience and being a communicator. And I love offering a space where people have those aha moments about the human experience. So I've realized as I've gotten older, whatever medium that shows in, whether it is just me and a mic and doing my Prince music and Brian McKnight, or if it is doing Hamilton and being an actor or whatever, my heart is open to that because it all kind of fits in that same world, you know?
Absolutely.
So yeah.
I would say that, like, yes, to that point, I think that the thing that really draws me into, you know, that really draws me into what we do as performers is just like the ability that we have to escape and also and step into lives that, you know, are not our own, but can also mirror our own lives and mirror lives, you know, of those in the audience. And it also allows the audience, you know, the ability to escape just for that 3 hours of doing this show. You know, when you go home, like, yes, like you'll still have the bills and you'll still have the things, you know, that are facing you at home, you know, and whether joyous or not, right? But for those 3 hours, you get to, you know, experience something, you know, outside of yourself. And I think that there's something so beautiful about that. And maybe in some ways, you know, you go home with a different perspective on how, you know, your day-to-day life is, you know.
Yeah.
And for some people that happens, and I think it's an incredible blessing.
You know, that's the beauty of live performance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I talk about that too, where there's this energy exchange that's happening.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you really feel it whether you're on the stage or in the audience. You're feeling
Absolutely.
this transference of energy
Mhm.
that is so palpable. It's real and it's tangible. It's felt. Well, you know, when we think about the passion kind of meeting the industry, right? There is some specifics here. It's audition after audition after. I just want y'all to talk a bit about like finding a good stride there, right? And I know for so many folks, it's like, hey, if I'm not performing, I'm doing this. I got other things that are filling time. I'm making money doing other things. I just want to hear a bit about that kind of your passion meeting industry and how you've been able to maintain in this industry when we know it's, you know, it really is. It's like audition after audition. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah, it's quite the world, isn't it? Right? You know, but like all worlds, I think when you are passionate about something, you know it's something you want to do, and you've made that contract with yourself that this is what I want to do, and I will fully commit to this. You then just have to do just that, you know. And like anything in life, the more you face something or are tested by something or interact with something, you become stronger for it, right?
True.
So audition after audition after audition, you know, you hear this and it's true. 90% of the time, the answer is no, or even worse, silence, you know, because in this industry, usually they don't have enough time to get back to you to even tell you that you didn't get it. So even worse, you're ghosted, right? You pour yourself out there and you're ghosted. But I was watching this video of, it wasn't Bobby McFerrin, but it was some prolific genius, musical genius talking to an audience. And they were saying, you know, when you first play, you know, who hears it first? And, you know, the audience. And he goes, oh no, you hear it first. You're the first audience member. And so realizing and learning that every time I go into the audition room, it's not an audition, it's my time to perform. It's those 10 minutes to show them who I am, what I do, what I think makes me special. It's opening night. This is the way I see the character and the role. And when I leave here, it doesn't matter if I get the job or not, because I just got to do 10 minutes of what I love to do. And you realize after you know, go through this lifestyle that that's actually what's happening. You're given a chance to show who you are at every moment. You know what I mean? So just meet the moment and just show up and be. There's nothing you don't have to give or ask for or seem desperate for. It's just about showing up and just being. And I have a really huge faith in the universe and in God. And so I know that if I'm meeting that contract, I told of myself that I'm going to show up, that I'm going to work hard. And I know that if I meet that moment, if God in the universe says this is the moment, it will not pass me by. And if it does pass me by, it was in the moment. You know what I mean? And I also didn't lose anything because, again, for those 10 minutes, I just showed them who I am, and how can that be a bad thing? How can you lose from that? You know. So it's a mental shift too. It's a mental shift, but would be lying to you if it said it doesn't suck. You know what I mean? I just had an audition last week, didn't hear back from it at all. You know what I mean? Like it happens, and even though we're sitting in these great roles, you know, we're still getting those no's, and you know, because art is subjective. You know, what we do is so much more than the words and the music and us stepping in the room. You know this as an artist, there's 1,000 other factors. And so for me, you know, it's just about showing up, just being and trusting, you know.
There we go.
It's a thing of like, you have to love it. You have to love what it is and every part of it. You know, I went to school for classical voice, right? And so, in that world, there's this, at least the school that I went to was very intense, and I love the program, and I feel like I learned so much from it. And, you know, that world for me was so riddled with, am I doing this? Am I doing this right? Am I pleasing the voice teacher? Am I like, is this okay? you know, and it wasn't until I stepped back into theater that I finally learned that I could like release some of that and really like find myself. And then it's a question of okay, who am I, right? But in that time, in those 4 years of my classical program, there was a time where the passion felt more like a job than something that I love to do. And I say that to say that there are times even out of school where, you haven't, you've been auditioning for 6 months, 8 months, a year, 2 years, and nothing has come of it, right? And you're like, okay, I have not gotten paid to do the thing that I love to do, and for me, my goal in life is to survive off of my passion, is to live off of my passion. I don't want to do something that feels like, I'm just like going to do the day to day, and there are times where it's like, okay, I haven't, gotten a check or, been able to pay my rent for what I love to do in a really long time. And how do you keep going in the journey when that happens? And it's like, you have to love it.
Yeah.
Even in the days where like, what we do is hard. What we do is hard every day. And we're so grateful. We're so blessed to be able to do it. Right. But, it is difficult from time to time. And there are days where it's like, it may not feel new. It may not feel fresh. It may not feel, but you have to, there is something in it that, I'm sort of rambling now, but there's something in it that, will always bring you back to, oh, this is why I love it. There's something in the show every single day that I'm like, oh, this is it. It reminds me of why I'm here. It reminds me of why I'm doing this. And that's why I love the show. Cause it's like, I can never get tired of it. I can never get tired because it reminds me of where I started, where we are and where we started. Right. And so, yeah, I would say that you have to just love it, and you have to find those things even outside of this. I think that, as artists, it's like even the thing that we're currently doing is not always the only thing that we're working on. Yeah. And so it's like even finding those moments where it's like, you can really use what you're doing to feed another love or another passion of yours. Yeah. If that makes any sense.
No, it definitely makes sense. And I think you've both spoken to something so intimate, because it's really a personal journey.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yet there is a shared understanding amongst artists that you have to have in terms of how much passion is going to allow me to continue this, and how do I keep renewing that passion over and over again in the midst of the industry and what it is and how it is set up, right? Yeah. That there is this longevity that happens. It is piece by piece until you look back and you go, wow.
Look at the puzzle that I created. Look at the picture I created.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I really thank y'all for getting deep with me.
Of course. Yeah. I love to get deep.
Listen, I like talk about it. Let's go in.
I'm a Sagittarius.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure.
I like to talk deep.
Sagittarius.
Yes.
So I get it.
Yes. Wait, what are you?
I'm a Capricorn.
So Capricorn?
Yes.
I'm an Aquarius. Okay, Sag, Aquarius.
We love it.
Look, right
We love it.
Yes.
Well, okay, so after the break, y'all, we're going to get into the roles y'all are playing phenomenally well in Hamilton. Y'all, I'm just grateful that they were able to go deep with us and give us a personal perspective of their passion in this industry and their beginnings. Y'all know we're going to dive into all things Hamilton right after this short break. Stay tuned. You're watching The Day with Trae.
Well, on Fox Face Off, we tell the raw, unadulterated truth.
Fox Soul Face Off.
We are given the platform here with no fear.
Always comes out swinging.
We should be saying, hey, stop shooting and killing people.
Nothing held back.
They wanted black hip-hop moguls and artists to continue the feud.
No punches pulled.
And shut the hell up.
You interrupt me all the time.
Tune into the show where opinions collide. Fox Soul Face Off. New episodes weeknights at 9 or stream anytime on Fox Soul.
In Seattle, it's more than just coffee. It's community. At the station, we brew more than just your favorite cup. We brew connection. From Beacon Hill to Columbia City, we're a space for artists, activists, and everyone in between. A place to gather, create, and simply be. Whether you need a quiet place to work, a lively spot to meet friends, or just a moment to unwind. Find your place at the station. more than coffee. It's home. Visit us in Beacon Hill or Columbia City. The Station, where community happens.
Working with Deon'te has been totally different than working with a traditional bank.
They're real, and they meet you right where you stand.
I was recently funded, and that money has just changed the trajectory of what we're able to do and our output. This has been just more than just funding or a one-on-one connect. It's been an opportunity for us to really grow and connect and build roots within the community.
As a small business owner, you need to put your faith into the right people, and they seem like good people to put their faith into.
Welcome back, y'all, to The Day with Trae. Of course, I'm your host, Trae Holiday, and I am getting to continue my conversation with Deon'te and, of course, Blaine. Y'all, thank you again for being here with me. Now, y'all gave me some good insight into your beginnings, and I have to talk about these roles. I mean, this is such an iconic show. It's taken on a life of its own in terms of the fandom and the amazing soundtrack that is Hamilton.
Yeah.
So this is a huge opportunity for both of you. And I want to talk a bit about how you accepted this role and then really got to dive into that characterization. You know, the two of you playing these characters that are like frenemies, right? It's so real. It's so real. So Blaine, tell us a bit about your reaction to them saying, yes, it's
oh my
you.
gosh. So I've been with Hamilton off and on for 5 years. Wow. Joined right before the pandemic. And I joined as a standby, so as an offstage company member, meaning I didn't do the show every night, and I was the understudy, if you will, for sort of some of the principal roles. So I was the understudy for Hamilton, Aaron Burr, and King George. So in any given night, you know, they'd be like, Blaine, so-and-so's not here, or so-and-so's on vacation, or whatever. So I'd step into those roles. And it's so funny, because when I auditioned, kind of looping back to our first segment, when I auditioned for the show and I got the packet, I was like, I unfortunately let the bad voice get me first before I could even own it. I first let the bad voice go, oh, you know, you're not really a Hamilton, so I don't know if you're gonna get this. I knew I was a Burr, and King George, you know, everyone loves King George. So anybody can play King George. You can play King George. And the audience goes crazy. You know, that's like 30 seconds of stage time. Good diva trash.
Sure.
And I was like, I don't think I'm a Hamilton. You know, when I first saw the show, I saw it front row, saw the original cast, you know, watching someone play the role that they wrote for themselves, you don't get any more authentic and raw and just, that's the character. You know, watching Lynn be Hamilton, you can't picture another Hamilton.
Yeah.
You know, some people still can't, you know what I mean? And so I kind of boxed myself and somehow, you know, did the audition and made it through and got the job, and slowly found this guy. So once they offered me the role full-time officially, I, by that time, of course, was like, I figured out that I am this person and who he is, and got it together. But it's been awesome and very fascinating for me. I'm biracial. Mom is African American. Dad is a skinny, tall, white guy. Very cool guy. And identity for me has always been something for me since I was little. It's something I think about it almost every day. It's just who I am, my makeup, the world we live in, the country we live in, the things that happen in this world these days always kind of somehow go back to identity for me. So Hamilton, getting into who he is, where he's from, you know, yes, who is Hamilton back in the 1700s, but who is this Hamilton to us now, right? This idea that he's the immigrant, he's the outsider, you know, he's not European. That's what makes him slightly unique. You know, if you think about the show, you know, then now, right? Yeah. He, even though he was an old white guy, he was not from Europe, right? He was from the Caribbean. He didn't have the sensibilities they had. So they looked at him like, as people look at people today, who are you? What are you doing here? You're trying to offer ideas on our country? What do you know? You know? So really delving into all that and what that means and what does it mean to represent the culture and represent hip hop and represent rap and musical theater. It's strange. It's weird. We've never had this like convergence of mediums, which is why the show is so huge, which is why they have the Hamilton mixtape and Busta Rhymes and all of our favorite rappers are on it, you know?
Yeah.
So I've spent a long time really thinking about who is this guy in 2024? What am I supposed to be representing? You know, what about me shines through? And it's been really thrilling, you know, for me. I also am, you know, I told you I was a little bit of education nerd. So I watch the news a lot. I am into politics a lot. Have tried to tune back just a little bit for my own mental health.
Good for you.
To be honest with you.
I can't imagine why.
I'm allowed to check at night once, but before I used to leave CNN on all day. I'm just that weirdo. Yeah. I'm very strange like that.
Okay.
I want to know, to me, to be out of the loop and learn later, I don't like that feeling. So I want to know what's happening. So for me, that immediately was my first into Hamilton. It was like, okay, what is he saying? You know, this idea about, you know, freedom, equality, you know what I mean? Him and his relationship with, you know, John Lawrence, what he wants to do with the 1st Black Battalion, and all these things that contradict also who they were and what some of their actions were in the time period. Like that immediately was my pull point, you know? I used to joke with my mom when I first started, I was like, I'm gonna be like the Barack Obama-ish Hamilton. Like, you know what I mean? Like great orator, you know what I mean? Just a brilliant speaker, passionate, someone that people are like, you know, magnetic to. So that was my way in, and then realizing that, like, you know, I'm not Lin-Manuel Miranda. I will never be, you know, that this role's not gonna look the same on me as it does with him, because he literally made it up, you know?
Yeah.
And just finding my unique take on it, which again, looping back to our first segment, was just being me. You know, there was nothing that I needed to show or add or take away or compare. Oh, Lynn does it this way, I'm gonna do it this way, or this is what it's missing, and this, actually none of that. It's about like, who am I as a person, and me just showing up as me, and then me saying this text and letting those two just meet. And then that's who it is. Yeah. That's the guy, you know, that they see him, you know? So a lot comes with me with Hamilton, a lot, especially being multiracial, and the show having, you know, the thing that makes the show so special is it's America then told by America today. And that's beautiful. And in that beauty comes some weird contradictions. And very early on when the show came out, and even to this day, there's still tough conversations that I have with our community about Hamilton. You know, why Hamilton? Why are we propping this up? Why are we propping these guys up? Why told this way, you know? And great question. And I think, to me, any good art, you question it. Any good art, absolutely, you love it, and then there's people, you know, that go, huh? Wait, what? You know what I mean? That's what makes it, you know, a conversation, and makes it stand the test of time. So all of that, you know, I'm thinking about, and his homework and table work that we did, and then at the end of the day, you know, you have to leave all that aside, and you just gotta do those 3 hours. You know, just hit those lyrics, hit the mark, and you know, give everything you can.
Well, you definitely did.
Thank you.
And
Thank
so
you.
I really love hearing that. I mean, Deon'te, for you, obviously there's a lot that gets poured into the character who is Aaron Burr.
Yeah.
That is driven from you as a person. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, I mean, so my first, unlike you, history was my worst subject. It was not for me, anything dealing with history. I was like, I passed. That's as much as you got from me. So I didn't really know much about Burr, you know, before starting the show. But when I first listened to the show, the first time I heard the show was back in 2015. I remember I was like in California, and a friend of mine was like, I was just like going through a breakup, and a friend of mine was like, you have to hear this song from this show. You have to hear this show. And the first song that she showed me, we were sitting in the center of her bedroom, and on the floor, and she just played Burn. And I was like, in the midst
That's
of a
gonna make
breakup.
you feel better.
Oh,
that's hilarious. That's hilarious.
My heart was ripped out of my chest. And then
hilarious.
the very next morning, I played Skylar Sisters, the second song I ever played from, and then I was like, what is this show? What is going on? And then I just like played it from top to bottom. And I just remember being like, wow, Aaron Burr is so misunderstood. And you know, you're saying that you never saw yourself as a Hamilton, which is wild because I'm like, oh my God, you're such a Hamilton. It's just like the things you tell yourself. But like at the time, I felt so connected to Aaron Burr, even back then, and like didn't even fully understand, couldn't have understood why, you know, in the way that I do now. But I just remember feeling so connected to him and feeling like he was so misunderstood. And then, you know, you look at the history of Aaron Burr, and he actually was not, like, he was pretty intensely, like, you know, treason and all that stuff. You're like, eek, Aaron. But what I think is so genius is that in the context of the show, Lin has this really incredible way of, you know, causing or allowing you to sympathize with him in such a beautiful way. And so I think that there's something about that is just like so precious. And so when I first auditioned for the show, my goal was always to be Aaron Burr. And when I first booked the show, it was back in like 2019. I was like washing dishes, and my agents called me like, hey, you know, when I was first auditioning for the show, it was for the Chicago production to be standby in the Chicago production. And he called me, he was like, hey, you know, what are you doing right now? You know, like I was like, oh, I'm gonna head into work. I worked at like Soul Cycle at the time, and
you did
like,
too.
I worked at Soul Cycle. 3 weeks, wow. 3 weeks at Soul Cycle.
I know, that's right.
And I was like, yeah, I'm like going into work. He was like, okay. I was like, what's up? Why are you? I was like, is there an audition that I missed? Like, what's going on? He was like, well, we have an offer for you. And I was like, okay, is it for Hamilton? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, okay. Well, I guess I'm moving to Chicago. And he was like, no, you're going to Broadway. And I was like, and Broadway was never a part of the conversation. It was never a part of the conversation. So I just was like, I sat and he was like, do you want to like talk about the numbers? And I was like, no, I got to call my mom. Like, I gotta, we'll talk later. I got to go. And at the time it was for the ensemble of Broadway, Man 6. Shout out to all my Man 6s out there. And it was to cover George Washington and Hercules Mulligan / James Madison. It was not, Aaron Burr wasn't a part of the conversation yet. And I remember the first rehearsal, I was with the music director, and he was like, we were working on George Washington stuff. And he was like, all right, George Washington, let's go. And I was like, yeah, but I really want to be Aaron Burr. And I just remember saying that to him, and he was like, okay, all right. And then, you know, a year went on, and you know, they offered me a position in another company, you know, to kind of do the same thing. And I was like, I will take it if we can also add Aaron Burr onto this contract. And then they were like, well, let's try out Aaron Burr on Broadway. Let's have you learn it in that company. And I was like, okay, here it is. Here we go. And I started working on it, and I just was like, I mean, even my cast members was like, oh, this is the role that you want, huh? I was like, yeah. And then I did that first like weekend of performances, you know. I think our current Aaron Burr at the time was on vacation, so I like did like a weekend of performances. And by that Tuesday coming back, they were asking me to stay in the Broadway company and just like add Aaron Burr to the coverage. And I was like, yes, this is it. And then that just like sort of started the journey for me. But I just remember really falling in love with this character in a special way, because I feel like we all, like Aaron Burr exists in all of us in a way. I mean, both of these characters exist in all of us, but I think it's so easy to come to the show feeling like Aaron Burr is the villain. I mean, he even has a line where he says, now I'm the villain in your history. And for me, that line means every single night when I sing it, I'm like, that line means so much, because it's like, you know, for me, it paints Aaron in such a different way, where it's like, oh, I can recall a moment in my life where I've done something similar to what he's done in these past 3 hours, where I've like tried so hard to achieve something and have been told, I mean, even in the ways in which we audition, right? We like try to do everything by the book. We try to, you know, and move along in this way that we are taught, that we are trained in a way to move through the world. And we're still met with no, we're still met with resistance. We're still met with walls. And it's like, that can be maddening, you know? so maddening. And for someone like Aaron Burr to be met with walls, you know, that, I mean, if we really look at it, they were walls of, you know, of his own, but, you know, he needed someone to blame. He needed someone to you know, someone to face. He needed a rival in those situations. And for him, it was Hamilton. And so it's like, when you're constantly met with this energy from this, you know, with this person that, like, in the beginning, you tried to take under your wing, and this person who sought you out, it's like, how do you continue to deal with that? And you know, I think, you know, he just had a moment where he let down his guard, and the worst parts of him, you know, showed. And I think that my hope is that people leave realizing that, you know, we all have those parts of us. And I'm so grateful to Leslie and to Lynn, first of all, for writing this character, but to Leslie for, you know, creating the blueprint of what this character is, and in a way where it's like, wow, I get to see a Black man on stage be vulnerable and show every aspect of what it is to be a human being. You know, to see a Black man show every aspect of what it is to be a human being. It's so touching. And I've never seen Leslie do the role other than when I saw it on Disney Plus, but the first time I saw it on Broadway was Daniel Breaker doing the role. And it's the same thing. It's like, it's a different take on the show, but it's still a Black man. The role is in the ways in which I've seen it, it's been a Black man showing every facet of what it is to live as a human in this world. Every sort of emotion, the joys, the frustrations, the fears, the insecurities, the hurt, the happiness, all of it. And so to be able to do that every night for 3 hours, it's something that I never take lightly. Wow. I never take it lightly, because there's always someone out in the audience who can see that, hopefully, and it's just like, oh, it's okay for me to show every piece of me. I don't always have to be this pillar. I don't always have to be this monument. I can break. I can be vulnerable. I can be hurt. I can be saddened. I can be happy. You know, I can be strong, but that is not all of me. And so I think that there's something just so beautiful about this role in that way. And it's a way that that's how I connect to it every single night.
I gotta tell y'all, it's so great that I was able to see you and now talk to you about this, because the connection that I was experiencing in the audience is so connected to what you are describing in terms of how you show up. Because what I love about live theater specifically, well, I say live performance, because the connection of the person on the stage to what I'm experiencing is something that I treasure as someone who's just a lover of live performance, right? And I'm so grateful in the position I'm in that I have this partnership with STG Presents and Broadway Across America and all of the other amazing entities that I get to partner with. It is, I don't know, y'all, it's beautiful to hear you describe it in this way, because honestly, that's what we're experiencing.
And it's, I think, you know, in this time and age too, of the way technology is advancing and AI and all the great things that are going to come from that. You know, sometimes there's a discussion like, oh, what's going to happen? And I'm almost like nothing. I guarantee you, you know, we've been telling story, you know, since the cavemen were, by the fire. We've been telling each other stories. We've been acting out. You know, they took the bear cloth that they made, and someone put it over their head, and I don't know what language they were speaking, and we've been doing that forever. And
the painting on the walls and
the hieroglyphs,
the hieroglyphs,
you know, that energy exchange you talk about, that is, it's so deeper in our DNA than we even give us credit for. We as we're learning in this world, we need each other. We need each other. And so I don't care how much technology happens, live performance, it'll shift. You know, AI is going to start being incorporated into theater, some cool technology, you know what I mean? But it's never going to go away, because we crave that. And I think, you know, when you're an audience member, you know, you see the performer on stage, and they're an extension of who you are.
Yeah.
But they're the superhero version of who you are. Because you're either, it's either Beyonce or someone you love, or it's a piece that you love.
Yeah.
So it's put on this platter, and there's that cool thing that happens. Our choreographer, Andy Blankenbuehler, who did the choreography, he said this. He's like, you guys seem like superheroes to the audience, which then makes them go, I'm a superhero. If they can overcome, I can overcome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's, what this whole thing is, this whole exchange, why we're sitting here, all mediums of art, is to reflect back what we're doing on this planet and to hopefully, leave you going like, yeah, I like what I'm doing, or I don't like what I'm doing, or I don't like where we're going, or I like where we're going,
Right. Well, and even to that point, it's like playing these roles, it's like, I remember, learning about history and the little knowledge that I retained, just like what always stuck out to me is that, these human beings, these people were are painted as monuments, and they are in their own right. But, what I have come to realize doing the show is that like, oh, these were human beings. Like these were people who, just like us, who were learning as they go, who were, creating and going through trial and error and making mistakes and finding successful moments and being like, oh, okay, rinse and repeat, which is exactly, that's what life is. It's a series of rinsing and repeating.
And I think it's, you also talk about Hamilton, and politically it definitely has seen this country up and down, right? You think about when it came out, 2015, right? Yeah. And, Obama was president, and then, pendulum swung, and then pendulum swung. And so it's interesting ride. But even separate from the politics of it, I particularly love this story going back to, why these people, why do we have to give this a platform, I think it's so good, especially nowadays with the way we interact with social media, with celebrity, with who we decide to give a platform and a megaphone to, or those who take the platform and megaphons. It's so important to see and remember how human everyone is.
Yeah.
And the people with the most brilliant ideas. There are people who have literally changed human history with a brilliant idea.
Yes.
Equally, just like all of us, have the dumbest idea in their head as well, and have something in their head that you go, are you kidding?
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
While also being like, but how did you get us to Mars?
Right.
It's like, not to name people, but it's like all of those, that's life. And that's what I love about how Lynn wrote these two characters, is there's very rarely you see a story where you can't say who's the hero and the villain. It's very obvious usually the way we storytell. And it's brilliant to use these characters, use these founding fathers, use our skin color to tell it, use the medium and the music to reflect that, like, this is all of us. This is all of us.
Yeah.
Waiting for it and then not throwing away their shot. And that's what I love about the very end of the show.
Yeah.
With the final duel, right? The whole time Burr has been saying, I'm gonna wait for it. And the whole time Hamilton's like, I'm not gonna throw away my shot. And then what happens when they both decide to do the opposite? They both, he doesn't wait for it, and he does throw away a shot. And then look what happens.
Exactly. Well, and even to your point of, like the genius idea versus the people are being like, are you kidding me? Even with this show, Lynn performed this, they performed this at the White House, and when he first told them what the show was going to be, they laughed. Like he was like, this show is about Alexander Hamilton, like
I'm going to rap it. We're going to rap it.
Rapping about what was the word? I can't remember the verbiage that he used, but it was just like the toughest, like, most gangster, like, most hip hop story that you ever see. It's about Alexander Hamilton. People are like, art? Like, what? And he's like, no, you laugh, but like, this is real. And here we are, almost 10 years after it's opened on Broadway. And it's like, oh, like this has quite literally shifted the culture. You know what I mean? And to everyone else at the time, it seemed like, a bit of delusion, but it's like, no, like I have a vision of what this is, and I can't even quite see all of what it's going to be. You know what I mean? But
true.
yeah, you have to have those, and I think that can exist in all of us. Like we all have that. You know,
y'all are making some really great points, because for me, one of the things that I struggled with was exactly this.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's the nuance of it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a Black woman,
Oh, yeah.
and I go, okay,
Absolutely.
and we created this financial system, and we see the harm it's caused.
Absolutely.
Like I struggled. I was like, I looked at my sister, and I was like, why do you love
Absolutely.
this? You know,
Yeah.
like when I really like honed in on the story, what I do love is that there is a connection to character. And when we start to, like what y'all are referencing now is so real. And I think that too, there's a brilliance in, you know, taking a part of our history and trying to make these kind of connections that really don't happen if we just read the history itself.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
Like, it doesn't happen in that same
Yeah.
way. And so I think it's you know, it's on you all to really make that real for people.
Absolutely.
Because that was, I came in like so skeptical. I was
yeah.
like,
yeah.
what are we
Oh,
doing?
yeah.
Like they were all white dudes.
Exactly. No.
Because they're not white dudes on
Yeah.
stage. It makes it easier to digest.
Yeah.
Right? And so
Yeah.
like that's just the real of it too. But I want to talk about, you know, as we close here, you know, what you really want the audience to walk away with. I mean, this is a story that is tried and true. A lot of folks that I was around last night were like, oh my God, this is the 16th time I've seen it. So you're dealing with people who really have seen it with other casts. Maybe they saw the original cast, maybe, you know, that Disney Plus, maybe whatever. But this is something that is kind of beyond, I think, what people would have imagined it to be. And Lynn probably had a really great vision for the longevity of this. But talk to us about how your brilliance and what you do is continuing this legacy of the story. I'll start with you, Deon'te.
Oh, wow. So I guess the thing that I would say, you know, even to the person who's seen it 16 times, whether it's your second time or your 16th time, I would challenge any audience member to abandon anything they've seen about the show and come in with just like fresh eyes. I think that, back sort of like moving back to what we were talking about earlier, you know, Lynn and Leslie created such incredible blueprints for what these roles are. And I am not Leslie. He is not Lynn. You know, and so like there is, you know, we have our different experiences. We have our specific dynamic. We have our, you know, individual journeys that we come together and create a collective experience for the audience. And that's not going to look how Lynn and Leslie's dynamic and journey looks, and it can't, you know. And so I would offer any audience member to come in just completely abandoning what they know about the show and open themselves up to experiencing something new, because I think, or something different. Because I think if you come in with that sort of perspective, I dare you not to have a good time. I dare you not to have a good time, especially with just like what the show is. The show is such a masterpiece, and it's a master class for me every night. And so, and acting with these people on stage, I'm just like, I'm intently looking and engaging with them, and also my mind being like taking notes of like, okay, I'm learning so much from this person right now. Ooh, that was a good choice. You know, and so it's like, I would just offer anyone to just come in and allow yourself to be changed, you know?
That's beautiful.
I think, especially now, I'm really hoping that, and I think we're getting it across with what you've been saying and talking about your son and all that, is I really hope that people truly see the humanity of these men and women. We're gonna talk about the women enough too, but I think, you know, when you look back, the toughest part about being a human and living the human experience in this world is muddling through the unfairness of it all and how did we get here? Why is it this way? Why is it that way? And I especially think about history, especially now as we are in a time where we're really trying to really get our hands dirty and fix some things. You know, and I think about how in history, you look back at history and you want to see it with these colored, rose-colored, you know, you look back and you want to see how great it was, you know what I mean? And every time you look back, you realize how great it wasn't, you know? And I think we're not supposed to look back at history and look back fondly. I don't think that's the point. And I think that's impossible if, you know, we're a nation, an imperfect nation that's striving to be a more perfect union, right? The goal, what that means is we'll never get there, which is what, you know, that's the truth. We'll never get there because if we're doing what we should be doing, we should always be looking back and going, oh, we missed that. Oh, in our attempt to do this, we missed that. And I think the only way you can see that, accept that, and let it be something that fuels you, but doesn't pause you, stifle you, make you stale, is through the humanity of it. Yeah. And being able to look back and see these people. If you do want to spend 3 hours talking about the founding fathers or Martin Luther King or Mother Teresa or anyone in this world, looking at their humanity of what they were trying to do, because that ultimately gets to what and who we are. You know what I mean? And our faults become something that we have to study, but it doesn't become the thing that we end on, right? Because then how do we press forward? Yeah. You know, so I love that this show gives you a really deep look, if you allow it to, about the humanity, about that no matter where we come from, in some way we start off thinking we're doing good. And in some way we start off wanting to leave a legacy and just take care of our family and build, and that's all of us. And then through the course of this human experience, you know, some of us go off track and get on track. But as we study each other, as we try to make this world a better place, as we try to understand each other, if you can't look at that person who you truly don't understand through a lens that it's hard to say, but they are similar to me, and the things that drive them are actually probably very similar to me, we're gonna get stuck. So that's what I hope that people, when they see this, just like Deon'te's been saying, it's like, oh wow, like, there's some moments where I'm Burr and there's some moments when I'm Hamilton, and there's no right or wrong, and I just need to shift through of when it is time for me to go off and when it is time for me to listen and let another voice lead, and you know, so that's what I'm hoping.
It's such a balance. It's such a balancing act in terms of our lived experience.
Absolutely.
And I also think about the customization of lived experience through our individual lens, but also the collective lived experience. So I love what y'all are talking about here. And you definitely gave a lot for the audience to chew on. If I do not talk about the harmonies, the dance, the amazing I mean, like, first off, y'all are part of a phenomenal cast.
So we're so lucky. This company right now is special.
Absolutely. It is amazing. I normally ask a lot of questions about the family that is created as y'all are touring together, but y'all gave us a lot to go on today. And I really appreciate you spending time with me here on The Day with Trae to give folks another reason to be purchasing those tickets. Kudos to you both for all that you are pouring out on that stage. Every single performance. I felt it so much with my 11-year-old son. Who was on the edge of his seat. Okay.
Love it. He's probably right now where, like, I don't even know what that means. Let me Google that later.
Right, exactly. At one moment, it was so cute because, and as Angelica's singing about how she is also loving Hamilton, my son, the song is over, everyone's clapping. He looks at me, he goes, "So what is she trying to say?"
He's like, "Wait a minute now. Is she trying to say?"
What did she say? I said, "She's saying she loves him too." He goes, "Oh, okay."
He's like, "Oh, that was two. Okay. Okay.
So thank y'all both for everything that you are pouring out on that stage and for gracing Seattle with your brilliance and your presence.
Thank you for elevating us. Thank you for what you do.
Oh my gosh.
You know, art's important. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Absolutely. Wow, y'all. What a phenomenal time I'm having here in the Black Media Matters studios. You know I'm going to wrap this brilliance up right after this short break. Stay tuned. You're watching The Day with Trae.
Black caregivers, entrepreneurs, and elders, this one's for you. Queen Care is offering complimentary self-care services to those who give so much to their communities. Take a moment to restore, recharge, and be cared for with free wellness treatments at the Spa House by Queen Care. Spots are limited, so don't wait. Go to queencareproducts.com now to sign up or scan the QR code on your screen because you deserve the same care you give to others.
What's up, y'all? Welcome back to The Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. Huge shout out to my phenomenal guests today, Deon'te and Blaine, both of them pouring their heart out about not only their passion for the roles, but some of the nuances that we're experiencing as audience members when we think about a story like Hamilton. While it has so many amazing notes for us to cling ourselves to, there's also some great thought behind it that we then get to go home and kind of reflect on as well. I promise you, you will not be disappointed when you get your tickets at stgpresents.org. These are phenomenal performers, and everybody on that stage is giving their all. I mean, you can kind of tell by today's interview that they are clearly in it for a real, true purpose. And when performers are purpose-driven, we get to experience the blessing that that is when we are in the audience. And I'm always encouraging you all to think of these amazing venues that we have in our city as your own. When we bring phenomenal shows and talent to these stages, it is an opportunity for you to engage. And this is a great time. Bring your family, your friends, your neighbors. This show always has great ticket sales, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't be able to experience it as well. So if you're somebody who normally may not go to the theater, or, hey, I don't know, I have never seen a musical, try this one. I'm telling you, you will not be disappointed by the phenomenal performers who are on that stage. I guarantee you that. Thanks so much for watching and closing your week out with me today. Y'all know I'm always so inspired by the guests that we have here on The Day with Trae. And my nudge to you is for you to be inspired too, because no matter what your passion is, when you bring it out for everyone to experience, you too can be a part of the solution. Thanks so much for watching again. And you know I'll be back with y'all next week on Monday. Until then, at 11 a.m., y'all. Peace. Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.